capacity which we're all given within the human spirit is so near infinite that it might as well be infinite. And we back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic, talking that Vedankadonk. Today's reflection is on a really interesting concept I've been thinking a lot about the last 2 or 3 days. Last episode and the last 3 are almost kind of like a triptych, meaning, artwork that is meant to sit in threes. The last 3 episodes really build on each other. And one of the lines in the last episode on injustice, one of the lines, I start to talk about the 3 daily practices. And for listeners, probably heard this many times, because I mention it quite often that the 3 classical practices, not necessarily daily practices, but the 3 classical practices and a progression to the ultimate, to enlightenment, to the scales, as St. Paul described it, falling off your eyes. That would be Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Listening, reflecting, and translate the last one, Nididhyasana, as single pointed meditation or experiencing the truth. It's kind of like listening about surfing, being like, oh, that sounds really cool. Then reflecting on it, you're like, wow, what that person said sounds really fun. Instead of in one ear, out the other, you actually think about it. You're reflecting on it, contemplating what would it take to go out and go surfing, or you're getting a surf lesson, thinking through, not just hearing the advice, but thinking through, okay, I do need to do that. Let me reflect on, sit low and go. And this is how I would do it. And then there's experiencing it, which reflection is 100,000 times more powerful than listening. Experiencing is 100,000 times more powerful than reflecting. Doesn't take much imagination to think through why going down a wave for the first time is going to be epically more powerful than just reading about it or hearing about riding a wave. Those are the 3 classical approaches to progression, but the 3 daily practices that Swami will talk about quite often is question everything, don't take anything for granted, and study, reflect daily. That study and reflect daily is kind of a secret key to this philosophy because it needs to be daily. It's the virus of attachment. There is no cure, just a daily inoculation. It's the best we can do until the ultimate cure, enlightenment itself. Each one of these all 3 of them have infinite depth. Do you ever get to the end of questioning everything around us? Questioning our ambitions, questioning our wiring, our operating system, why we're doing X, Y, or Z? Do you ever get to the end of not taking anything for granted, of cultivating gratitude for everything, blessing, curse, joy, suffering? Do you ever get to the end and say, well, I finished, took all of those things I was taking for granted, now I'm done, I appreciate them fully? No. You never reach the end of these 3 bottomless wells of these daily practices. And the second one, don't take anything for granted, could be summed up with this concept that the moment you are born, you are indebted to the universe around you. I don't mean this in some finger-wagging way of, you need to start serving everybody. You obviously need to know the rules. You need to know how to serve before just feeling some guilt of, I need to go do a billion different things that people ask me to do. You got to question everything, including this person in a podcast episode saying that you're indebted from the moment you're born. But philosophically, the moment you were born, just to register a sight in your eyes right now, is over 100 million operations taking place within your body. the wealth upon which we are all born into, the capacity which we're all given within the human spirit, is so near infinite that it might as well be infinite. You did nothing. You just were born into it, inherited it. You were given it. Independent of what argument or backstory of why you might be given it, you were given human capacity, the near infinite human capacity. So if you take this concept of don't take anything for granted, you flip it to you take a lot for granted. Maybe you write down 10 things in your gratitude journal, but then you take 10,000 for granted and you want a little more over here, a little more over here, a little more over here, a little more over here. J.D. Rockefeller, when he was asked how much money is enough, half jokingly, half seriously, said, just a little bit more. He was the wealthiest person on the planet. We all are on 100-mile-an-hour bullet trains. Endless bullet trains, a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more in every direction. And that is the operations of someone that takes everything for granted and thinks the missing piece is a little bit more. To not take anything for granted is to have a terminal illness, tears of joy, because perhaps you can see how it is elevating your consciousness, pushing you, teaching you in a way that no teacher, no book, no lecture ever could. A gratitude for 31 years and immeasurable number of experiences, interactions, relationships, friendships. You can take this so far to say that asking for anything, feeling any lacking whatsoever, is taking all of your J.D. Rockefeller-esque wealth, your human capacity, taking it all for granted. To where asking for a little bit more in this cosmic scale of feeling all full and complete and feeling empty, feeling dissatisfied, asking for anything might as well be stealing from those around you. The depth, the infinite depth of don't take anything for granted. You could spend a lifetime reflecting on that single practice and still just scratch the surface of what that truly means. To not take anything for granted. To recognize that anything you lack is actually just fulfillment in disguise. And anything you ask for is actually just a huge dose of dissatisfaction. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.